Imagine looking into the dark, murky corner of a backyard pond. It's an ecosystem you manage, you feed, you think you know inside and out. It's your system.
You're in control of it. Or so you think.
Exactly. And then, one day, while you're moving things around, doing some, routine maintenance, you see a flash of color. Something that definitely shouldn't be there.
Or something you completely forgot was there.
Yes. Which is almost weirder. It's the classic survival story, isn't it? The anomaly that just thrives in the margins, completely unnoticed.
Completely off the radar of the person who's supposed to be in charge.
And this isn't some nature documentary about the Amazon. This is a story about a long-forgotten creature discovered in a domestic fish pond and the very specific type of person who found it.
Right.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are unpacking a really fascinating blog post. It's titled Notes on Fishkeeping, Part 195, Relocating My Jewel Cichlid and Gouramis.
It's a very utilitarian title for something that actually contains a whole lot of drama. It's from a blog called kiannm.org, published just recently, Thursday, February 12, 2026.
And look, on the surface, this is a post about moving some fish from one tank to another. Simple logistics.
It seems simple.
But once you start peeling back the layers, and honestly, once you look at who was writing this,
Right.
It becomes such a bigger story. It's about resilience, the dark economics of the pet trade, and how a self-described software plumber applies a very specific, logical mind to the absolute chaos of biology.
I really love that term he uses for himself, software plumber. It's so evocative. It's not someone who just writes elegant code. It's someone who fixes the messy, unseen pipes that keep the whole thing from collapsing.
Right, it implies dirty work, troubleshooting. And today's deep dive is really about what happens when that rigid, logical systems thinking meets the messy, unpredictable reality of living creatures.
And on top of that, there's a surprisingly cynical, or maybe just realistic, look at how the commercial fish industry actually operates.
It's a total collision of worlds. You have the digital world where everything is binary and loggable.
And the biological world, which is wet, chaotic, and often surprising.
So let's jump right into the tank, or I guess into the pond.
Yeah.
What set this whole chain of events in motion? Because in the aquarium hobby, you don't just move fish for fun. It's stressful for them.
You only do it if you have to.
Exactly.
And it starts with a disruption in the system, a spawn. The author, Eng, he notes that his third pair of zebras has spawned.
Okay, zebras here referring to zebra cichlids. And for anyone listening who thinks a zebrafish is just a cute little stripy thing, let me tell you, when cichlids spawn, the whole neighborhood goes on lockdown.
Precisely. Cichlids are known for being territorial, but spawning cichlids are on a whole other level. They become these hyper-aggressive parents. They'll claim like a specific geometric area of the tank, and if anything else enters that zone,
It's getting attacked.
it's getting attacked, no questions asked.
So it's basically an immediate eviction notice for everyone else.
It is. So this event, the third pair spawning it, triggers what you'd call, I guess in software terms, a resource contention issue. It creates an immediate safety hazard for all the other residents.
Right. If you don't move the neighbors get beat up or even killed. So the author has to relocate his gourami.
The gouramis are the victims here. They're generally more peaceful, slower-moving fish. They basically need a safe house, and they need it now.
So the plan is to move them to a separate outdoor pond.
Which seems straightforward enough. It's just logistics, right? Move asset A to location B.
But this outdoor pond isn't just empty space waiting for them.
No, it's currently housing Jewel Cichlids. But specifically, and this is a crucial detail for the plan to work, Jewel Cichlids that have not yet bonded.
Okay, let's unpack that distinction. Why does bonded versus not bonded matter so much here?
In the cichlid world, the bond is everything. A bonded pair is a power couple. They coordinate, they defend territory together, they're a united front. A very effective team. An unbonded group is just a loose collection of roommates. They might bicker, but they aren't trying to murder everyone to protect a nest.
So the logic is the Gouramis are safer with the unbonded, chaotic roommates in the pond
Than they are with the hyper-organized, murderous parents in the main tank.
It's a risk assessment. He's choosing the lesser of two evils.
Exactly.
So he's executing this migration, he's draining the tank or netting the fish, doing the heavy lifting, moving rocks around, and suddenly, glitch in the matrix. Surprise!
The discovery, this is the moment. He finds a long-forgotten Jewel Cichlid hiding at the far end of the pond.
I love that phrasing, long forgotten.
Yeah.
It implies this fish has just been out there living its best life completely off the radar.
It wasn't on the inventory list.
No, it was a ghost process just running in the background. And usually in a closed system like a backyard pond, if a fish disappears for months, you assume it's dead.
Of course. You assume it was eaten, or it jumped out, or it just died and decomposed somewhere.
Right. And if you did find it, you'd expect it to be in really rough shape.
Exactly. You'd expect a deprecated asset, skinny, emaciated, maybe bullied, fins all ragged. But that is not what he found. And this is the first big aha moment of the post.
So what was the condition of the fish?
He says explicitly, the female Jewel Cichlid appears to be in great shape, sporting very vibrant colors.
That is wild. Vibrant colors in cichlids usually mean dominance and health. If a fish is stressed or hiding, it usually clamps its fins and turns a dull gray to blend in.
But not her. She's been operating in the shadows and doing better than some of the fish he's been actively managing.
Wow, it really speaks to the resilience of these animals. But it also, it highlights a failure of observation on the keeper's part, which I think he kind of realizes.
He does. He calls her long forgotten. There's a tinge of guilt there. He's the system administrator, and he lost track of a user.
But he immediately corrects it. He integrates her. Welcome back to society. You've been upgraded. So now he's watching her. He's got this resurrected female, and the big question is, will she bond?
Right. He's looking at the male Jewel Cichlid who was already in that new environment. The experiment now is whether this new, vibrant female will pair off with him and start a new spawn.
It's like a reality TV dating show for fish. Will they? Won't they? But this is where the tone of the blog post shifts pretty dramatically, because the author isn't just hopeful. He's actually pretty skeptical.
And this is where we get that software clumber analytical brain kicking in again. He doesn't just look at the fish and say, oh, how pretty, a miracle. He looks at the data points of where these fish came from.
He starts debugging the supply chain.
He does. He says it's too early to tell if she'll spawn. And your question is, why the doubt? She's vibrant, she's in great shape, she looks ready to go.
Yeah, what's the problem?
Well, it goes back to the source code, so to speak, the origin of the fish. He notes that the batch of Jewel Cichlids he bought previously seemed quite aged.
Quite aged. That's a very polite way of saying he thinks he bought senior citizens.
Essentially. And this leads to this fascinating theory he has about the aquarium trade. He suspects these fish were retired or rejected broodstock released into the market.
Okay, we need to really dig into this because this is the core critique of this whole thing. Retired broodstock. What does that actually mean for the listener who isn't, running a slush farm?
In commercial aquaculture, you have two categories of inventory. You have the product, the young, cute fish you sell to pet stores, and then you have the machinery, the parents, the broodstock.
They're the factory that produces the product.
That's it. You keep the factory running as long as it's efficient. But biology has limits. Eventually, a female fish produces fewer eggs, or a male's fertility drops, or they just get too big and aggressive to manage in the breeding tanks. They depreciate.
So they get fired.
In a way. But instead of just disposing of them, which costs money, the farms offload them. The author writes that it's common for fish farms to clear their inventory, attempting to squeeze whatever remaining value they can out of the stock.
Oof. That phrase gives me chills a little bit. Squeeze whatever remaining value.
Right.
It's so purely economic. It turns a living animal into a resource that is just being mined until it's completely empty.
That's the reality of the trade. It's like selling a used car that you know has a transmission about to blow, but you polish it up, wax the paint, and put it on the lot as a great deal.
And the author's acutely aware of this. He's looking at this vibrant female, and instead of just seeing a pet, he sees a product that might have reached the end of its shelf life.
Exactly. He writes, whether these retired fish still have the stamina to breed remains to be seen.
The stamina. So it's a biological uncertainty. Breeding takes a massive amount of energy.
A huge amount. So if she is indeed spent broodstock, she might look good on the outside, maybe because she was fed color-enhancing food to make her sellable. But her internal systems might be exhausted. She just might not have the reserves to produce eggs or defend the fry.
It's a really interesting tension. On one hand, you have the biological miracle. She survived alone. She looks fantastic. On the other hand, you have the economic reality. She might just be a factory reject, used up and sold off.
And think about the position of the author here. He's the consumer in this transaction. He's realizing that the new fish he bought might actually be old inventory. And that changes how he manages his expectations.
He's not betting the farm on a spawn because he knows there could be supply chain issues.
Exactly. Which makes so much sense because, as we mentioned, this guy isn't just a fish keeper. He calls himself an old software plumber.
This is where the deep dive gets really fun. We have to look at the profiler section of our outline here. Who is this person? Because his background explains so much about how he writes about these fish.
It explains everything. The blog is titled qianmeng.org, and the tagline is Musings of an Old Software Plumber.
Plumber in the software sense. That usually implies someone who works on the messy back-end infrastructure, right? Connecting pipes, making sure data flows, fixing leaks.
It's unglamorous, but critical work. It's all about keeping the system running.
And if you look at the sidebar, oh man, the sidebar. This guy is not a casual hobbyist in anything he does.
Not at all. He lists his notes on series. Just listen to this tech stack he works with. Elixir, Erlang, Python, Haskell, AI, Rust, Go.
Okay, for the non-techies listening, those aren't just random names. That is some serious, heavy-hitting stuff, especially Erlang and Elixir. Those are not for beginners.
Right. Those are languages built for massive concurrency. They're used in telecom, in banking. They are designed for systems that have to handle millions of things happening at once without ever crashing.
Fault tolerance. That's the buzzword, isn't it?
It is. In those languages, you build systems with the assumption that things will fail. Processes will crash. The goal isn't to prevent failure, it's to recover from it instantly and gracefully.
And he's applying that exact same mindset to his pond.
He has to be. The forgotten Jewel Cichlid. In his mind, that's a process that crashed or got detached.
Yeah, but the pond was robust enough that it didn't kill the process. It just kept running in the background. That's successful deployment.
It totally is, and it explains the logging, too. We looked at the archives on the site. The volume of data is just staggering.
It is relentless. We are talking about daily posts. In 2023, 2024, and 2025, the source indicates he posted basically every single day. Over 700 posts a year.
That is dedication. Or obsession, maybe?
It's discipline. And notice the granularity. He has betta spawn logs and fishes spawn logs. He treats biological events as data points to be recorded, tracked, and analyzed.
So when the zebras spawn, it's not just, oh, look, babies. It's event triggered, spawn, action required, relocate Gouramis, log entry created.
Exactly. And by February 12, 2026, the date of this post, he had already put up 36 posts that month alone. He is documenting his life with the same rigor a server logs error reports.
I think it's about observability. In software, you can't fix a bug if you don't have logs showing what happened leading up to it. So if his fish die or if they spawn, he wants to be able to look back at the data, the temperature, the water changes, the feeding schedule, and figure out why.
He's trying to debug biology.
But biology is the ultimate spaghetti code. It's messy. You fix one thing and 3 other things break unexpectedly.
And that's the tension. That's why this is so great. You have this rigid, logical, Rust and Haskell brain colliding with the chaotic, messy reality of zebra cichlids are attacking the Gouramis.
And there's another detail in the footer that I think connects to all this.
Oh, what's that?
He lists the Electronic Frontier Foundation, the EFF, the Free Software Foundation, FSF, and the Tor Project in his Do Support section.
Okay, so that's a huge clue to his worldview. These are organizations dedicated to digital freedom, privacy, and most importantly, open source software.
AFWAS, Free Libro, and open source software. He says he tinkers with it all night. So you have a guy who values transparency. He believes in code that is open, where you can see how it works, where you can inspect the ingredients.
He wants to know what's under the hood.
Yeah.
Then he goes to the fish store.
And he encounters a black box. He buys a fish, and he doesn't know its history. He doesn't know its age. He suspects he's being sold retired broodstock. But the industry is opaque. It keeps its secrets to maximize profit.
It's the exact opposite of the open source philosophy he lives by.
It is. So the frustration with the aged fish isn't just about the fish. It's a clash of values. He wants open source biology, but he's getting proprietary, hidden trade secrets.
And yet he adapts. He's a plumber, right? He works with what he has. He finds the bug, the forgotten fish, and he tries to patch the system. He reintegrates her.
Which brings us back to her, the survivor, because in a way, she's kind of a feature, not a bug.
Oh, I like that. How so?
She proves that the system has redundancy. Even when the user Aang forgot about a component, the component kept running. The ecosystem was stable enough to support her.
The component kept running. You're really getting into the spirit of this, but it's true. There's something comforting about that. We stress so much about micromanaging our environments,
Mhm.
whether it's a project at work or our own homes, and sometimes life just finds a way in the corner.
It does, but I think the author's skepticism is the grounding force here. He appreciates the survival, he notes the vibrant colors, but he refuses to be sentimental about the outcome. He knows the odds are stacked against a successful spawn because of the underlying
Is
economics.
that stamina question again? He writes, whether these retired fish still have the stamina to breed remains to be seen. It's a wait-and-see game.
And that's the scientific method. Observation, hypothesis, experiment,
Hmm.
conclusion. He's currently in the observation phase of this new experiment he didn't even plan.
Reading this, it makes me wonder about the other 194 parts of Notes on Fish Keeping.
With over 700 posts a year, I imagine there are hundreds of these little dramas. Failed spawns, unexpected survivors, equipment failures. It's a massive data set of a miniature world.
And it's all happening in someone's backyard and living room while they're writing Haskell code. It paints such a vivid picture of a specific type of life, a life of quiet, rigorous observation.
And a life of constant learning. The sidebar has "This Week I Learned" and research papers to read. He never stops feeding the input buffer.
It's inspiring, honestly. Makes me want to go start a log for, I don't know, my houseplants.
You might find some retired broodstock among your ferns.
This fern was clearly offloaded by a nursery trying to squeeze value. I'm going to look at my peace lily with a lot more suspicion now.
Hey, only one way to find out. Observe it, log the data.
So what's the big takeaway here? We started with a fish tank eviction and ended up discussing the ethics of global trade and the philosophy of open source software.
I think the core message is about the power of noticing. Ang calls himself a software plumber, but he's really a naturalist in the classic sense. He noticed the spawning behavior of the zebras, he noticed the forgotten fish in the corner, and he noticed the subtle signs of aging in the commercial stock.
And he documented it.
Right. Success, whether you're debugging code or managing a pond, comes from that attention to detail. It's about not letting the forgotten things stay forgotten.
And also, maybe a little bit of healthy skepticism. Just because something is sold to you as new stock doesn't mean it hasn't lived a whole life before it ever got to you.
Exactly. Understanding the source of your inputs is crucial. Whether that input is data into a server or a live animal into a pond, you can't optimize the system if you don't understand the components.
That brings us to the end of this deep dive. We've explored the resilience of a Jewel Cichlid, the chaos of zebra parents, and the mind of a coder who watches it all unfold.
It certainly makes you look at a pet store tank a little differently. You realize every fish in there has a history you just can't see.
Before we go, here is something for you to chew on. We talked a lot about retired broodstock, things that are exhausted but polished up and sold as new. In your own life, how often are you buying into that? Are there ideas or products or even relationships that are presented to you as fresh and new, but are actually just someone else offloading their old inventory to squeeze out the last bit of value?
That's a cynical thought, but a necessary one. Caveat emptor.
Buyer beware indeed. Thanks for diving in with us. Keep your eyes open, watch out for the quiet survivors in the corners, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.
Take care.